See what they're doing.
I have 10 notes.
Good morning. We're going to call the meeting to order for the Board of Supervisors for the September 18th. Roll call. And by the way, Supervisor Ben is going to be a little late. He mentioned that.
Supervisor Parks? Here. Supervisor Long?
Here.
Supervisor Foy? Here. And Supervisor Zaragoza?
Here. And for the moment of inspiration, we'd like to call Karen Jensen from Food Share. She's our Director of Food Share. And one of the things that she mentioned this morning was, I asked her, what do you like the most about your job? And she says, I'm always amazed at how much people care, how much people give. So we'd like to call Karen up to share a few words in a moment of inspiration, and then after that she can help us with a pledge to our flag. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me here. It is an honor to be here speaking to you. An inspiration for Hunger Action Month. The acronym is HAM. How appropriate is that? Everyone likes some ham. Hunger Action Month is 1 month where we speak out against hunger here in our community, here in our country. We have too much bounty here that our friends in the community should go hungry. So for 30 days, we ask our community and our great nation from coast to coast to speak out against hunger and to help our friends, to find a way to work together for 30 days, because in 30 days you can create change. You know, if you start going to the gym and after 30 days it just becomes habit. So for the month of September, they've asked that for 30 days we find a way to create change. It's long enough to create a movement and to help our friends. Again, I'm honored to speak here. I see inspiration every day. Our friends who find the courage to come into our facility and ask for help. Are the individuals that create those homes where they can go to get help. They invest their time, talent, and their treasure to make sure that there are people in the community that don't go hungry and become part of the Food Share family. We're here later today to honor those 150 agencies that create our family, that make sure that our children, those people in the community that are hungry, have enough to eat. It's amazing to see the community come together. That's part of my role with Food Share, is to see everyone come together. The corporations that want to gather their employees, their family, and make sure that they know that they're giving back. To the school drives, to our 4-H kids who are not only doing food drives, but they're also raising these wonderful animals that are donated to us during the fair. And to our government offices, we do a food drive here every year, spring into action to help our seniors. Inspiration comes to us from every angle. You too are an inspiration to our community, and we appreciate that, and showing the ways that we can change. Just this morning, I don't know if anybody were listening to the radio, but I heard that there's a crop problem, which is not new to us. The amount of food that's going into the food banks is going down. So they spoke to some of the food banks in the Midwest and asked how they were going to make a difference. And they said they were just going to reach out to their community and see what they could do. They had a mom that spoke about her struggle to make sure that she had food for her kids and how she was making every penny stretch as far as she could. I got inspiration from that. I know that mom. I know those kids. I married her son. So that's why I'm committed every day, and our Food Share family, to go in and make sure that our friends in the community have enough to eat. And I thank you for the opportunity to proclaim September once again as Hunger Action Month and show your commitment to Food Share and our friends here in the community that are hungry. Thank you.
Karen, thank you so much for sharing. It's really appreciative, and there's a lot of people that care and a lot of people that need the help, and you're there to help, and I really appreciate that tremendously. I know the board does, and we all do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you help us with the pledge?
And if I also have the honor of leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all rise? Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 5 is the minutes. You're requesting to continue the minutes. Is that Roberta? Yes. So
Motion.
make a motion to continue, and there's a second. Okay. And that's approved. And now we have item number 6, agenda review. Michael, do we have any changes?
Yes, thank you, Chair Zaragoza. Consent agenda item 19, there's an email submitted by Nathan Boren. On regular agenda item 29, we request that be continued to a later date.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That's 29.
29. Okay.
And then on item 31, there's a PowerPoint presentation submitted, as well as an email submitted by Nathan Boren. And that's it.
Okay. And supervisors, any other changes? Okay, so we need a motion to...
So I know that there's been a request to go ahead and continue the Carlisle Road item, which is
Is that 19?
31.
31?
So what,
And,
that's the wastewater treatment one, isn't
and
it?
how about 19?
So why don't we go ahead and continue that then to our
19.
following week? Does that work? I don't know if anyone's here for that.
So we continue 19 also?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So,
Motion.
No second?
with those changes?
Or not.
Okay. So that's been approved with the changes. Okay. I got item 7, consent items 10 to 20. Any concerns or changes on that?
Motion to approve consent.
A motion to approve in a second. Okay, that's been approved. And, okay, item to rate, I have public comments, and I have a couple of cards, and the first speaker is Mr. Larry Stein.
Good morning, Mr. Supervisors, Madam Supervisors. My name is Larry Stein, I'm a resident of Oxnard, California. I wish to address a future agenda item. Apparently, county staff wishes to forward a change to quitclaim deed at College Park. The current status of the quitclaim deed is the status of being a public park. As you may be aware, the county transferred this property to the city back in June 2000 with the status of being a public park, with the intent that this area be used as a public park for all residents in a public park nature. The City of Oxnard staff, not the legislative body, but staff, has requested a status change of this parcel from a quitclaim, from a public park to public facility. I do not think this was the intent of the county when this land was transferred. When this land was transferred, there was an amphitheater on this property. There is numerous facilities, but it was being underutilized, and they felt that the city could utilize this property better. Now the city's torn down the amphitheater. They want to build a fire station on this parcel, but they can only do this as this parcel is changed to public facility. But if this parcel is changed to public facility, then other attributes go along with that. For example, the city can sell a portion of this if they so desired. They can allow the sale of alcohol on this parcel. There are numerous activities that would be allowed in this parcel if the status was changed. Now, yes, the Oxnard does need fire departments and fire stations, but there's already parcels designated in other parts of town for fire stations, such as Sakioka. But the issue at hand in here is the fact that the city wants to change this status, and it's not gone before the public. There's been no discussion in city council chambers. There have been no discussions at the commission. So I urge you, should this item come before you to be discussed in a public forum, I deny staff's request that they should not transfer and change status of this property from public parks to public facilities. It's very important to keep the character and nature of this parcel as a public park so all people can use it, and this parcel won't be privatized and have restricted use by the public. Again, I would thank you to remember this item as it's going to be coming up on a potential future agenda item. Thank you for your time and just consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Stein, and staff for your request. Our next speaker is Bert Perello.
Maybe we could have it as a public hearing when it does come, if
And-
they're not going to have a hearing on it in Oxnard.
Right, Michael, do you have any, I know the staff's, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, just staff is working on that. We appreciate your testimony, and per Supervisor Parks and the board's
And the-
pleasure, we'll have a public hearing when it is before the board.
Thank you. Mr. Bert Perello?
Good morning. Bert Perola, resident of Oxnard. The last time I was at this podium, I mentioned the issues in the city, the beautiful city that I live in, that 4 of you have the opportunity to represent. Mr. Foy, unfortunately, don't represent part of Oxnard. But I brought to your attention the questions about the district attorneys and various things. This is not what I'm talking about today. Today, the previous speaker, Mr. Stein, and others have brought to the public's attention the item that he spoke on. This is a matter of serious interest in the city of Oxnard. The 4 of you that represent the city of Oxnard, portions of it, there are residents in your area that know about this, and they're asking questions. Why wasn't the public told? I'd like to bring a few things to your attention. The original quitclaim deed has a quote in there. The property, quote, shall be used and maintained solely and exclusively for public park and recreation purposes, end quote. The city is asking for a change. The city has stated that they can build a park, they can build a fire station. This is not an issue of public safety versus parks and recreation. This is an issue of a very misused and often abused word, transparency. Apparently, your staff from the Public Works Department, the County Council, and the Executive Office has been in dealings with the City of Oxnard to put this on the agenda and take care of it. Apparently, from the documentation we've been able to find, it was supposed to go to you guys September 11th. No one in the City of Oxnard, the public, knew about this. When the public is asked questions, there is no information coming back to the public. It's through Public Records Act requests and the last-minute luck of turning a rock over and something crawls out from underneath that you find this bit of information. If you give approval, will you be obligated to assist the city when there is an issue of public coming back to the City of Oxnard asking for the $400,000 rebate, refund that Big League Dreams did not give, that Big League Dreams has the contract with College Park? When if you read in the handout, you read the copy of the quitclaim the way they would like it changed. Where in that quitclaim does it differentiate between the original entire 75-acre park versus the 5-acre park that the city attorney is alluding to that that's all they want to change? Is it a slight oversight, a mistake, an error, or on purpose? And I bring this to your attention for a very important reason. There's an area of Oxnard called the Northeast Pacific Plan. It encompasses Pacifica High School, a very large chunk of Oxnard. One of you was on the city council when this transpired, and appreciate your work. But there was a fire station that was supposed to be built in that project at 50% built out. It stated it in the documentation of the general plan. Fire station shall, that was a quote, shall be built. The word mysteriously was changed to may be built. Maybe. And the station was never built. When these matters come to the public's attention after they find out, it's very similar to a phrase that a long time ago was used. Money, manure, and information does no good unless it's shared and spread around. When you keep information, or people keep information from you, and potentially put you in a precarious situation, I hope that you do very aggressive investigation just what you are being asked to be involved with. I believe you put yourself at risk when you find out the public has not been informed that this is going on. It's a very tangled web that goes on, and I'm very fortunate to live in my city. But there are issues there that need to be addressed. Please do not get caught in this mess unless you have all the information. And it does not appear from the communications that have been able to be generated that you knew what was going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Perello, and again, it will be in the agenda in the future as soon as our staff gets together with the Oxnard staff. Michael?
I was just going to say, Mr. Perello, thank you for your information. We had not heard that perspective, so it's valuable for us to hear it. There, you mentioned a board date. There was never, from our office's standpoint, or from the county that I know of, any specific date discussed, just so you're aware of that. So happy to keep you in the loop as we move forward and work with the city.
And thank you, Mr. Stein. Okay. Okay, our next item is board comments. And Floyd, Supervisor Floyd.
Thank you. Mr. Burrell is always very polite and very gracious when he speaks. So he's always good. Anyway, I just wanted to commend the city of Simi Valley for their efforts as they continue to be business-friendly. As we know from our CEO's office, doing everything we can in this county, it doesn't help unless the cities themselves do it. And they're working on a whole lot of ways with the chamber, with the CLU over there, and everything else they can to work on things to be business-friendly in that area. And I think that just dovetails on what we're doing here in this county. So glad to see it, because we, as you probably read the paper a week or two ago, that one of the articles said we were hit worse than a lot of other counties in some of the areas, some of the business that went on here. So anything we can do is good. And then Supervisor Long, I met Mike Engelhard, from Gold Coast. Good guy, a lot of good opportunities. I think there's some new good rate leadership there that's going to be good for all of us in the county as all these things develop. So anyway, my comments for the day. I don't have anybody to adjourn memory of. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Supervisor Long?
Yes, good morning, and thank you. I have a list, a very short list, thank goodness, to adjourn in memory of. One out of Port Hueneme, Mr. Galoud, who was in the United States Navy for 22 years, fought in 11 major battles from World War II to Vietnam, a member of Kiwanis for 42 years. And then Marjorie Geisler Hudson of Santa Paula, grand jury member, active in the E-Bell Club, and very active in the community. And that's it.
Supervisor Parks?
Yes, I would ask that the board place in honor of the people on this list. I was able to attend Supervisor Bennett, the reception for outgoing city manager Cole in the city of Ventura, and just how nice it was that Johnny Johnson, our old CEO, is now going to step in there and help in that transition. So I thought that was nice to see. And I think wish everyone a thank you, happy Rosh Hashanah, and that concludes my comments that weren't on the microphone.
Supervisor Bennett?
Thank you very much. Yes, I was also able to attend the reception for City Manager Rick Cole. Made tremendous contributions to the city of Ventura over his tenure there, and the number of people, the outpouring there was very impressive in terms of the number of people there to say, wish him well, and I think we all wish him well as he takes on a very interesting new position as the manager of the church. And then it will be nice to have a known voice and somebody of Johnny Johnson's talent and skills down at the city for us to interact with. I also attended the VCOG meeting, and the VCOG organization is willing to become the official body that receives the updates from the committee on the 10-year strategy to end homelessness. So I was happy to be able to answer their questions, and happy that they were genuinely very receptive to the idea of being that appropriate. I think they are that appropriate sort of regional body to receive those regular updates from the committee. Also was able to stop by and congratulate the annual heroes at the Ventura County, the Kiwanis Ventura County Annual Heroes Awards for the firefighters, and interesting things that happened there at that, as reported in the paper. I attended the Habitat for Humanity. They opened 2 homes on Struby Street in my district, and you talk about a real sense of community that Habitat of Humanity creates. So many people coming together. Over 5,000 volunteers worked on those 2 homes in the last 18 months. 5,000. And so it was just a really joyous and great event. One single mother with 4 daughters, another single mother with 5 children, now have a home that they really have that sense of ownership of. And then I was able to also go to the Boys and Girls Club, Days for Kids. Great, inexpensive way for people to celebrate with their children. And then also at the Pacific View Mall, the Mexican Independence Day celebration that was held that Saturday night. We all were, 3 of us at least, were at the KVTA flag celebration with the Seabees yesterday, with the flag flown over Afghanistan. They say in Afghanistan, one guy said the flag flown over Iraq and one over Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, I think it was.
Yeah, okay, great. And I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of the people on this list. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. And also, I'd like to adjourn in memory of the folks on this list. And also, I was there at KVTA. That was really nice of the CBs to donate that flagpole, to the KVTA. And I listened to KVTA in the morning coming to my office, and I got to meet Stick Boy. He's quite a guy. Mr. Stick Boy. And he also says, you got to meet Stick Girl, and I understand they have stick babies, so it was fun being there anyway, and it was great. And also, I participated Sunday in that 16th of September parade in Oxnard with several thousand people were in attendance. And then also I had the opportunity to attend the 50th anniversary for the Sea Cadets over at the CB base. And that was really great. This young lady, she was probably about 4 foot height, and about 16 years old, and they said she didn't know how to drive a car, but she could fly a plane. Unbelievable. It was really, really great. And also we attended the foster school, the special needs school in Oxnard. And I just want to thank the Human Services Agency, the county of the Board of Education, and Barry was there, and Mike was there, and quite a few of our staff. And it's really outstanding what the county of Ventura does to assist, the school districts, and almost every place I go, we have a county official or county staff doing a lot of good work. So I commend you for that, Michael. That was really, and your staff for that. And then also had the opportunity to meet the new publisher over at Ventura County Star, Margie. I want to call her Margie, but it's Margie. And it was great to be there and to visit with her. And she made a really excellent presentation on how she wants to be involved with the community and so forth. And other events too, so that I attended. So that's my report. And of course I have the adjournment in memory of those folks on this list. So our next item is we're going into the regular agenda, item number 30, and that's going to be our CEO and Matt, because we're going to continue 29.
Chair Zaragoza, members of the board, Executive Officer Powers, Matt Carroll with the County Executive Office. Agenda item 30 this morning requests your board approve the draft responses for 4 grand jury reports pertaining to operations under your board's authority. Now, if you recall, as noted in the board letter, there were 6 grand jury reports for 2011-12 related to county operations. 2 of those, the Sheriff's Academy and Measure S and the Crisis Intervention Team, required responses only by the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department has completed those responses. They're included in your board report this morning, but they've already been sent over to the presiding judge. What we're asking your board to review and approve this morning are the 4 reports that, again, pertain to operations under your board's authority. And those reports are the vehicle impound fees with responses required by your board and the sheriff, the public administrator public guardian review with responses required by your board and the treasurer tax collector, and then responses requested and provided by the public guardian, public administrator, the behavioral health agency, and the healthcare agency, the behavioral health department and the healthcare agency. The 3rd report was mandatory detention facilities. It had responses required from the sheriff and the probation agency. And then the final report was the Animal Services Department report with responses required by your board and then responses requested and included for the from the Animal Services Department, or now Division, the County Executive Office, and the Animal Services Commission. Now we'll take comments and work with your board to incorporate any changes or clarifications you request this morning. We'll work with the appropriate agency or department and work directly on your responses this morning, and we'll do that before we submit those to the presiding judge. So with that, we have representatives of most, if not all, the agencies that participated in the response development, and with that, we'll open it up to questions from your board and address those as they come.
Is there any questions of Matt? No, or the staff? So, nope.
One thing I would say is that just appreciate the grand jury's work. Mr. Plisky is here from the grand jury, and as you can see from the reports, they're very thorough, well-researched, and they raised a lot of important points, and I think you can see that in the responses. A lot of that work that they're talking about is being addressed at those departments, so appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. And okay, so do we have a motion to receive and file? Go ahead and make it.
Trying to get to my screen.
There we go. Thank you, Matt, and thank you to all, that were involved in this. It's a good report.
Thank
Okay, that's approved. Go to item 32. What is it 32? So receive and file. 31, did I miss 31? Oh, okay, that's really important. Item 31, RMA.
Good morning, Chair Zaragoza, members of the board, Mr. Powers. For the record, I am Chris Stevens with the Resource Management Agency. And the item before you today is related to the new on-site wastewater treatment and disposal system regulations. And Bill Stratton, our Environmental Health Director, will be giving the bulk of the presentation. I just wanted to make a couple introductory comments for the board. The first of which is that this is very early in the process. And I don't know if we were perfectly clear in our agenda item on that. What we have are the I'll call them preliminary final state guidelines. We wanted to get out ahead of this. This is a fairly significant issue for us here in Ventura County. I think as all of you know and have heard, we have a number of septic systems here in this county, and the regulation of them is of great interest to a lot of folks, be those interested in preserving water quality or property owners themselves. Secondly, we wanted to kind of illustrate for you that these guidelines have some ripple effects. They affect our sewer policy that the board has had in place for a number of years. They also may potentially affect our building code as well as some other issues, and we wanted to make sure the board was aware of that. This isn't just a strictly technical question on how septic systems might operate. It also has some other impacts to policies here that the board is familiar with. And lastly, I wanted to suggest that we see this as a really good opportunity for us to, as we're looking at these standards and regulations and working with our stakeholders as addressing these other issues out there. I think we've heard from our customers, and I think the board's heard from people at this dais, concerns about how we regulate septic systems, our relationship with the regional board, and how to better do that, how to better serve our customers. And this is a real opportunity for us, I believe, to take a look at this kind of holistically, how these new guidelines will work with our processes. And so that was the point in kind of highlighting the sewer policy and some of the other things in the board letter so that you and the public would have an understanding of how this relates to how we do business. And our intention is to have a fairly, robust engagement with our stakeholders over the next 6, 9, 12 months, however long it takes, to get us to the point where we have our guidelines in place and we are back to the board with what those might be and how they might work with all of our day-to-day kind of operations with our customers and our other stakeholders. So just wanted to kind of give you that as background and then ask Bill to come up and give you the presentation.
Chris, is this similar to the on-site systems that VRSD is working on? I think they...
Well, do you mean the package treatment systems?
Yes.
That is definitely related to this, and Bill will talk about that. That's something of great interest as it becomes more difficult for septic systems to function and package treatment plants becoming perhaps the wave of the future, so to speak. That's a very important part of this.
Okay, because I think there's I know there's a condo complex in between the Ventura County line and LA County line.
That's correct.
In Malibu, where VRSD actually built an on-site system there for...
That's correct, yes. Yeah, they had a very difficult problem with the old septic system, and recently, I guess now, well, time flies, maybe it's close to 10 years ago that went through, but yes, that's an example of an on-site treatment plant.
Right, okay.
John, yeah. Chris, if I may say, I got to commend you for just this whole presentation. This is the first time I've seen in 6 years that we're talking about something major. We're coming up and letting know up front, want to pull the stakeholders together instead of usually it's coming after we've done something. So this is really a real good way to do this, a real great approach, and let everybody know we want to work this together because we don't know all the unintended consequences of some of the decisions. We don't know everything that's out there. So I just got to commend you for doing this and look forward to everybody getting together and making this thing work. So thank you.
I was just wondering, well, this is something pretty technical and and we'll hear more about that. How do you see this in relationship to the general plan and the big picture items?
Well, the don't know, I can't say for certain, I guess, because I don't know where this is going to lead us. I don't think that this will have an impact on those unless the board decided that that's the direction that you want it to go. I think it's more into our policies that we have in place onto how we implement ensuring we have good water quality and ensuring that we have our growth occurring consistent with our general plan guidelines. So there's definitely a connection, but whether it leads us to amending our general plan or not, I don't think we're there yet to say that that's... That's certainly not on our plate at this time, but it may lead us there.
So, but you don't know enough to whether you can foresee whether that would occur or not?
I don't think that it will. I don't want to go on record as saying that it definitely won't, because something may come out of this that leads the board in a direction that makes you want to make some changes. I don't know yet. It's just a little too early. This is very early in the process for me to...
Yeah, and that's why, I'm looking at the technical stuff, but then I see in here some statements about guidelines for orderly development and all that, so it makes me think, how will this affect, or how do you anticipate this affecting land use? But I'm not really got a good, clear picture on how it could even involve land use decisions in terms of zoning and things like that.
Well, and that's why one of our recommendations is that you direct us to return to you with a report on what those might be.
That's right.
We wouldn't be these wouldn't be actions taken at the staff level. We would come back to the board, present to you the information, study it, and our recommendations, and then it would be a board action as to whether or not we take that in.
And normally, something like this would be very effective for a property way up and miles away from the sewer system and those kind of...
it will affect all properties where an on-site disposal system may be proposed. So those aren't necessarily in the hinterland. Some of them are adjacent to communities. Okay.
So that's information you're going to give us?
Correct.
Well, maybe this is a question for Bill, but would this also have any impact on existing like septic tank areas with septic tanks that may not be doing as well?
I believe it would, and I think that's a good question for Bill.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have any information on that, Bill?
He's got a
PowerPoint. Bill's very anxious to get up.
And you're anxious to sit on.
I just wanted to state one other question.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Powers. I'm Bill Stratton with the Environmental Health Division. Chris kind of went into my introduction, so I'm going to go right into the slides. There are 4 recommendations in the board letter. One is to accept and receive this presentation. 2 is to direct staff to continue oversight of OWTS. Now, OWTS, on-site wastewater treatment systems, that's the new terminology for septic systems. So I'll be using OWTS throughout the presentation, but it is what we used to historically refer to as septic systems. So the second recommendation is to confirm that Ventura County, your board, wants the Environmental Health Division to continue oversight of those systems in the unincorporated area of Ventura County. The third recommendation, and we'll go into more details in a moment, but direct staff to develop a local agency management program, and we'll talk about that. It's one of the requirements that the state has put together to allow more local control over OWTS. And finally, what Chris mentioned, the fourth recommendation is return to your board after we've gone through this entire process. Return to your board with some recommendations with the draft LAMP and talk about changes to the building code ordinance and perhaps the county sewer policy as well. So just a little history. In 2000, legislation was adopted that directed the State Water Resources Control Board to develop statewide standards for OWTS. And those were supposed to be in place by 2004. So we're 12 years beyond the legislation date. We're 8 years beyond the due date when those statewide standards were supposed to be developed. It wasn't until June of this year that those standards were actually adopted by the State Water Resources Control Board. We anticipate that they will become effective 6 months after their release from OAL, and they have not been released yet. So that's kind of the implementation date, if you will, for these standards.
why are we doing this? Why did the state get involved with this? This is kind of a typical diagram of what we're trying to do, and what the state is trying to do is prevent the effluent from the disposal system from going into either the groundwater system or a surface water system. So OWTS, typically, they use the soil that's here to treat the effluent as it moves through that soil layer. So these standards that we're talking about are specific to these types of systems, the OWTS systems.
Before you change that, when you look at that, are those, is that an assumption, or they do believe that there is real pollution going in like that?
It all depends on the distance to groundwater, the distance to surface water, and the type of geology and the type of soils that's there. So the standards that we're talking about and looking at have to do with setback distances to these groundwater sources and surface water sources. Chris talked about, Supervisor Zaragoza mentioned treatment systems. Well, there's a tier, and we'll go into that in a moment, that if there are septic systems located within a certain distance of an impaired water body, then additional treatment would be required. So it's all intended to protect those groundwater and surface water sources or resources from on-site sewage disposal systems, OWTS.
And that was happening in El Rio too, right? That's why
That's correct.
that we converted to the sewer system.
That's correct, and that's where the board actually, the water board actually imposed a prohibition on any discharges from existing septic systems, and obviously PWA, Public Works Agency, went forward and your board had sewers installed in that area. So yes, it's very similar.
Could I ask one other question here? You have the reference to soil absorption, which I certainly, biological treatment, is that's something that is
that just refers to that the biomass, the bacteria that's in the soil that breaks down that effluent.
Okay.
So it is that is the treatment unit.
Nothing special, right?
Yes. So 12 years is a long time. 8 years since 2004 is a long time. One of the major reasons that it took so long to get these standards adopted was the state tried to impose one-size-fits-all. They put together some very prescriptive design standards that would be imposed in all jurisdictions throughout the state. That attempt was met with a lot of pushback, a lot of opposition, not only from local governmental agencies, but other stakeholders as well. And it wasn't until approximately 3 years ago when all the stakeholders in the regional board, the State Water Board, came and developed this tiered approach. It's a risk-based approach to regulating on-site wastewater disposal systems. So there are 5 tiers, and they go from 0 to 4. I don't want to go into all the details here, but for example, tier 0 is a classification. It just says if you have an existing septic system, or OWTS, and it's operating properly, it isn't failing, for classification purposes, it's identified as a tier 0. For failing systems, if you have to replace or repair that system, it's classified as a tier 4. So you can a system can move between tiers depending on how well it's operating and where it is in the process. What I want to focus in on are tiers 1, 2, and 3. Now, tier 1 is those prescriptive standards adopted by the state, whereby if a local agency hasn't developed a local management plan, then all those systems are going to be in tier 1, and they have to meet all those prescriptive standards established by the state. The staff recommendation under item number 3 in your board letter is to develop a local agency management program, which would be your tier 2. That program recognizes local conditions. It recognizes the local development standards that your board has put in place over a number of years and are contained in the county building code ordinance. So it really establishes a platform for us to move forward then and evaluate these new standards and see how well our existing development standards coincide with those new requirements. Tier 3, and this goes to one of the comments that you mentioned, has to do with systems that are located within a certain distance from impaired water bodies. When I say impaired water bodies, those are water bodies that the State Water Resources Control Board and the regional boards have identified as being impaired through a TMDL, through a component or a contaminant directly related to OWTS. So in situations like that, where we have a surface water body, where we have a system that may be within 600 feet, that system may be required to provide additional treatment. But we just don't know those details just yet. We're still, like Chris said, we're really far in front of this right now. So those are the tiers that we're looking at. And again, the staff recommendation is to go with a local agency management program, which is tier number 2.
On that Tier 3 that may need additional requirements, would they be imposed by the state or by the county?
If your board chooses not to move forward with Tier 2, the local agency management program, then the state would impose those Tier 3 requirements through the Regional Water Quality Control Board. I might follow up with that. If we don't move forward with a local program, then all septic system owners, if they need to make changes or if they're considered a Tier 3, all have to go down to the regional board and deal with them through their process to get repairs, any changes to their system.
Makes it more difficult then for them.
It would make it more difficult, and this next slide is kind of comparing those. If we go with the state system, the Tier 1 versus the Tier 2. So the Tier 2 really is more flexible. It actually acknowledges and recognizes the current septic standards that we have in place. We maintain and retain local control over septic developments. And the application processing time is very much what it is now. We don't have to send people down to the Regional Water Quality Control Board for 6 months or 8 months or a year to go through their process. So this compares the two, Tier 1 and Tier 2, and again, the staff recommendation is to move forward with a Tier 2 process. I won't go into a lot of detail here, but these slides, and it's in your board letter, kind of describes the process we're going to go through when we develop this local agency management program. It will be consistent with our existing development policies. Like I said, we're going to use our existing building code ordinance as kind of the platform, the starting point to move forward with this. I should say the original MOA that the county had with the regional board to oversee septic systems dates back to 1952. It wasn't until 2005 when we entered into a new MOA with the regional board, and they came down and looked at the county building code standards, our program, and at that time determined that it was fully protective of groundwater and surface water sources through our oversight of septic systems or OWTS. So I said that's going to form this platform, this basis for then where we move into these imposing these new standards. So I think we're in pretty good shape, but we will have to incorporate these new statewide standards into our policies. We're also going to convene a technical advisory committee. We work with a number of engineers, a number of contractors, a number of people that have been involved with the OWTS business for a number of years. We're going to involve them in this process as we move through and develop our LAMP. And finally, this is going to be a negotiation process with the regional board. We ran into that in 2005 when we negotiated our MOA with them. I envision this is going to be a negotiation with the regional board as well, looking at our current design standards versus these new standards that the state's going to impose. And we're also going to involve our municipal advisory committees, those areas where they have a number of septic systems in their jurisdictions. We'll certainly bring all of this information to these groups as well and get feedback from them. And of course, number 5, we're going to return to your board after we've negotiated with the regional board. We put our LAMP together. We've identified what changes to the building code are necessary, if there are any changes to the sewer policy, guidelines for orderly development. Those will all be contained in this package that we bring back to your board. And finally, timeframes. Like Chris mentioned, we're pretty far ahead on this. You can see that the proposed lamp, the first bullet item here, under the standards, we have to submit a draft lamp to the regional board within 36 months after the effective date. So the standards aren't even in place yet. They haven't popped out of OAL. It'll take 6 months after they pop out for them to become effective. And then we have, as a jurisdiction, we have 36 months to submit a draft lamp to the regional board. The board then has 48 months from the effective date to review our lamp and let us know whether or not it's acceptable. And then the fourth bullet item here is when it's all said and done, when the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, 60 months from the effective date to when we have to have all of this put in place. So 5 years from the effective date is when we have to have this buttoned up. So Chris mentioned we're way out in front on this. We would like to have a draft lamp within 12 months. That's kind of our target date so that we can have a number of years or months to negotiate with the regional board. So that concludes my presentation.
And I think this is going to be beneficial to our constituency, excuse me, to be upfront, and be ready for for that when it comes up. So, any other questions? I have
Yeah.
go ahead, Supervisor.
One, I appreciate that we're early in this and that you're putting this process together, because it certainly will be necessary and informative, I think, for both the technical advisory group to come on board and to start the conversation and review, but also to reach out to the community. I immediately think of Las Posas Estates. Old community, was there before Camarillo was incorporated, septic systems, and some areas failing septic systems, one that, a self-initiated annexation. So to look at areas like that, to look at both the policy questions and the environmental health questions, but also to look at, is there opportunity for that community to be engaged and have a discussion about, is it time for a change and what are they willing to look at? I have some folks up there who really would like to have a change in how their system is delivered via an old pipeline or some septic issues. So to include, I guess my end of that is to say that at some point to plug in, where do we bring in homeowners groups, areas like that, and to make sure that they have a clear understanding of this and what options, choices, and threats are available. And also to look at significant policy and change in operations like this at some point, certainly on the environmental health page on the website, but perhaps even on the front page of the county that says hot topics. I don't know that it's ready for prime time yet as a hot topic, but at some point it will be.
Yes,
so.
I agree.
Supervisor Parks?
As I see, you're saying that this isn't going to have any projected costs, significant costs to do this, but I'm thinking that this could be pretty significant in terms of actually implementing this program, establishing this new system, and then being the oversight agency when there's already a state oversight agency that does this and we don't have to, fund it. So I don't know if this will be sustainable by fees or this is a potential drag on our department's finance.
It's a convenience, I guess, of
What we intend to do here in the board letter, it may not have been that clear, but the development of the lamp itself, we can cover that with our existing staff resources. We feel we have a relationship with the regional board and we can continue that and put that plan together. But certainly that recommendation number 4, we're going to return to your board because after we go through that process, then we'll have to identify if we are going to talk about permits or operating permits for these types of systems in order to maintain the resources that we would need to oversee these new requirements. And we just haven't gone that far in the process yet to know what our resources or what our requirements will be to oversee these new requirements.
And that's what you're going to bring back to us? Yeah.
Correct, yes.
I have a speaker card here. I have a... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do see this as a potentially problematic issue, the costs associated with it. I mean, there's probably a reason why the regional board is slow, is because they're overwhelmed. And I don't want to see that happen to our departments, and a lot of energy going towards it. And it is a huge field to be entering into, so it does give me some concerns.
Any other questions before Michael?
Just a comment on that. I love the hot topics idea, and when that time is right, we'll do that. It's a great idea for a link. And it's so important to have the homeowners and the business community participate, because they're going to share impacts that we just wouldn't necessarily think of, that are unique to our county and their situation. So appreciate Bill and team and Chris bringing this early. One question in terms of jurisdiction and applicability. This is for the unincorporated area.
That's correct.
Right. And so
Yes.
the cities will need to do it separately. Right.
Good point. Okay, I have Lynn Jensen.
Good morning.
Good
Lynn
morning.
Jensen with Ventura County CoLab. I just wanted to come and actually say, from our perspective, we are very happy that we're starting to work on this early. And we are extremely concerned about the impact that will happen to the businesses and actually to people that are living out there in these unincorporated areas, and what's going to happen with them. I just wanted to point out that there's a lot of businesses, even agricultural kinds of businesses, that have small trailers. They might have small facilities, and all of these kinds of units need to have a septic system. And so it's not just going to impact the homeowners out there, it's also going to impact a lot of different kinds of businesses. If you look at the matrix that the county has of all the different kinds of businesses, you know, there's kennels out there, there's nurseries, which could be very much impacted because their employees have to have bathrooms, and they have to be, they can't use the porta potties. And so they are required to have these septic systems. And then, of course, at some point in their history, they're going to have problems with the systems. They're going to need to upgrade them, and they're going to have to go through this process. I think what we'd like to see is, of course, the least impact possible on functioning systems. And I think that was really the mandate from the state board when they came back and redid the regulation, was to try to make it easier for people who have functioning systems. And there's no mandate from the state to change those systems, even if they're within 600 feet of an impacted water body. So we'd like to see how the county's going to deal with those kinds of issues. And I think the most important part from our perspective is to have a proactive approach to these secondary types of systems that are being routinely used in other counties. And right now, there's quite a bit of lag time through environmental health to get any of these new systems approved for projects. And there's quite a few projects in the county that are looking for these kinds of secondary systems, partly because they may have to deal with food waste and have a kitchen permit, and so they all have to go through these kinds of secondary systems. And we'd like to be a part of that technical advisory committee, and we'd like to have put together a bunch of technical experts to look at the kinds of systems that other counties are using, and to see if we can get some kind of approach here where it doesn't take so long to get those things approved, so that businesses in this county are not impacted as much. And so, like I say, I appreciate very much that we're taking an approach here that is going to get an advisory committee together, and we'd like to be a part of that process and be a positive part of that process.
Thank you.
So thank you.
That's exactly what staff was saying. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Yeah. I guess I do have one question. You know, this is for Chris Stevens, right? This is, you know, you have a recommendation here in terms of this coming forward. If, as this comes forward, we find we have a resource challenge or we have to impose a significant fee to be able to do this, et cetera, we have the option of staying in the Tier 1, or what's the deadline for making that decision?
Well, the deadlines, we have lots of time. That's the good news, as Bill just described to you. And we've had this discussion at the staff level, and that we are extremely concerned and share the concerns that both yourself and Supervisor Parks have raised about what we might be getting into in the cost of the county. And so step one is identifying what we think are the regulations and how we're going to protect our water quality and be consistent with our land use policies here. Step two is negotiating that MOU with the regional board. And that's where I think we're going to get a really good idea on whether or not they're asking us to do more than we think we can. If that makes sense.
At that point in time, then
we will be back to the board, absolutely.
I know we'll be back. At that point in time, do we still have the option of the Tier 1 approach rather than the Tier 2 approach?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, until an MOU is signed, Bill can answer that probably more clearly, but in my opinion, until an MOU is signed, we have that option.
Okay, all right. So this is to keep both options alive and explore this, right?
The Tier 1 is actually default tier if a local region doesn't want to prepare a local management plan. And it defaults to a Tier 1, which are the prescriptive standards in the new regulations, in the new standards, and all septic owners, OWTS owners, will have to deal directly with the Regional Water Quality Control Board.
Okay.
They may have to get site-specific waste discharge requirements. That's really going to be up to the regional board to make that decision.
Okay. But,
by going
so
with the tiers,
this allows us to get the information about the Tier 2, see what it is, and then make an informed decision on that.
And that's to our benefit right now, Tier 2, to look at it and take care of the constituency too.
We certainly hope that it will be.
At this point.
That's our expectation, but we don't have to make that commitment here as a county until much later in the process, and we have a handle on what they are and what the regional board is asking of us.
Okay. So. Well, thank you so much for that report. Okay, we got a first and a second on this, and
I'm not going to support the motion. At this point, I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. I just feel like there's a significant amount of expertise that's already at the state level, and that this could become overwhelming to our departments, could be very expensive, and a responsibility I don't think we need to take on.
And this is a receive and file, so, okay.
No, there's
recommendation, excuse me, a recommendation number, yeah,
right.
Go ahead.
And I appreciate the supervisor's comments. I have those concerns, but I think the staff is saying, let us take that review and bring it back to the board. Again, in the case of Las Posas Estates, that might be a healthy look.
Okay.
Yeah, my sense is that the issue needs more. We need more information. The way to get more information, that we have the county resources to be able to do this investigation. We may not have the county resources to be able to do the implementation, and so I'm willing to do the investigation so that we have that information to be able to make an informed decision at that time.
Well, and I would just say 90% of the time, local control. I think the more we're able to govern that, better. But this is a huge policy issue.
It is, and that's why we.
Thank you.
That's why we need the information to make that decision.
Okay, we need somebody else to vote. Okay, that's approved. Thank you. And the next item is item 32. This is a receive and file. And one more. And now we're going to go into closed session. And do we have any announcements, Leroy?
Mr. Chair, we do not expect any announcements.
I do have one announcement I just want to make. I failed to make in my board comments, but the board took the action to approve the funding for the homeless removal. I just want to let everybody know that there was just great cooperation yesterday with and work by the Human Services Agency, Behavioral Health, Healthcare Agency, Watershed Protection District, and the Sheriff's Department. And then our county partners, City of Ventura, Project Understanding, Salvation Army, and the Unitarian Church, and Project Understanding in particular, taken a tremendous made a tremendous effort here in terms of this. But things have gone smoothly and no significant problems and stuff. I just want to give that board that update on that. And so tomorrow, I think Public Works will be out there actually trying to clear the property now. Right? So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to closed session. We're going to resume our meeting of the Board of Supervisors, and we do have an announcement from Leroy.
Thank you,
Initially, we thought we didn't, but we do.
Yeah, I misspoke, and it turns out we do have a couple of announcements, just that the board authorized the initiation of litigation in 2 separate matters, and the particulars of those actions will be disclosed upon the action being commenced upon inquiry. And that's all.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is we'd like to present a resolution for Hunger Action Month, and Bonnie or Karen, and can you come up to the dais, and I'll go ahead and read this resolution and present it to you. And this is from a resolution from the Board of Supervisors, County of Ventura, and we're going to proclaim Hunger Action Month, September 2012. Whereas hunger and poverty are issues of great concern in the United States of America and the state of California and the County of Ventura, because of the intake of nutrition, food is essential to the growth and development of healthy individuals. And whereas Ventura County is committed to taking steps to raise awareness about the need to combat hunger in every part of Ventura County and to provide additional resources to our citizens in the County of Ventura. Whereas established in 1983, Food Share has been a vital asset in combating hunger and poverty as a non-profit organization with a mission to feed, nourish, and educate Ventura County hungry, educate the community on those who are hungry and why, and advocate for the reduction of the roots of cause of hunger. Whereas the Food Share is a dedicated partner agency throughout Ventura County and works in cooperative effort and effectively to distribute over 10 million pounds of healthy food to those in need every year to Food Share programs, such as the Senior Brown Bag Program, the Kids Farmer Market, the Food Share Warehouse, through distribution and through its many partners and agencies. And whereas the agricultural community of Ventura County has been very critical in supporting the continued efforts to feed the hungry by maintaining a leadership role in providing much needed produce and protein to the hungry. Now therefore let it be resolved that the Ventura County Board of Supervisors takes great pleasure in proclaiming September 2012 as Hunger Action Month, and further recognizes and supports the importance of role of Food and Share and its many partners agencies they play in providing food and nourishment to those in need. And this is presented on the 18th day of September. And I'll be down to give you this presentation. Do you want to share some words with us?
I do. Thank you so much once again for your support of Food Share and our mission and the support of the community. We have many members here from anyone from our agencies to our staff to our friends that are in receiving food are here today just to show a stance and say thank you for everything that you've done. We couldn't do it without the great community that we live in. Thank you for your support of Food Share and Hunger Action Month. Thank you.
How many people do we have here from Food Share?
By stand.
You want to come over and take some photos?
Good.
Oh, and then the boss is here. Let's go ahead and take some photos.
Over here? Over there?
I'll just get beside it.
You can be in the picture with her.
There you go.
Took it just when you waited.
Photobombing, huh? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Jeff, you're next.
Thank you, Chair Zaragoza. Good morning, board members, Mr. Powers. For the record, my name is Jeff Pratt. I'm with the Public Works Department. And today we're here to do something in a little celebratory mode, and that is receive awards from the American Public Works Association in 4 out of 5 categories, almost a clean sweep by Ventura County Public Works. I'm not going to steal. I'm joined by a number of my colleagues today, and Ryan Gallagher from the APWA, who's going to give the awards. But I would like to point out just a couple of funny things. Watershed Protection won this year in the category of transportation. I don't know if you noticed that from here. So Gerhardt will be stepping up to accept that award, a little bit different. But we won in the categories of structures, transportation, emergency repairs, and environment. And again, you're going to see a perennial winner there. That's the Rio Sewer Project. But I won't steal any more. Ryan, come on up.
Thanks, Jeff.
How are you, Ryan?
All right.
Ryan.
My name's Ryan Gallagher. I work with AECOM here in Ventura County, but I'm also the secretary for the American Public Works Association here in Ventura County. And each year, as Jeff mentioned, we award projects from within the county. And this year, like Jeff said, 4 out of 5. So that's very impressive. That's the first time we've seen that number come from one agency. So I just wanted to come here personally and present the awards to both recognize the achievements of these project managers. They've demonstrated excellence in the projects they've worked on, as well as the county and their leadership, but then also the Board of Supervisors for supporting quality of life in Ventura County and keeping it as great as it is. So the first project, and Jeff, you're going to help with the project managers so they get properly recognized, of course. The first one is the El Rio 4-Bay Groundwater Contamination Elimination Project.
And that would be Seth Muniz with Water and Sand.
Board members, we'll share something after you finish and with every single, or can we share something now for, I just want to thank Jeff, and also Reddy Pacala had the names of the individuals, and Sefi and Margaret Lopez and Anna and all those folks that really helped over in El Rio when that project was being implemented, being actually done. And they did such good work with the people, and we had numerous meetings here in El Rio, and they did an excellent job. So it's an award well deserved, and I want to thank you, for an excellent job, in El Rio.
Thank you.
And also we talked about saving groundwater today, and that's exactly what's happening over in El Rio, and not only did it help with the groundwater, but it also increased the value of the homes in that area. So, congratulations.
I should also mention that as the project managers come up, they actually each presented over the past year at our local chapter meeting. So they presented in front of 100 or so people that represent almost every agency and public or private company in Ventura County, and they did a great job doing that. The second one is the California River Parkways Trailhead Project.
That's the transportation project, and Gerhard Buhner is accepted the water transportation.
And I truly have to acknowledge Pam Lindsay and Elizabeth Martinez, who couldn't be here today, so I'm really had a really small piece, but on their behalf.
Good job.
The next project is the Santa Clara River Benway Weirfield Project.
Watershed protection again, and who's coming up in watershed? Looks like Kirk Norman, project manager, Angela, and Kevin, project inspector. Good job, guys.
Congratulations. Thanks, John. So who wants to hold this for you? Maybe get the honor? All right. And the last project is the Yosemite Fire Station 43.
And that's Susan Pan, project manager with Engineering Services. Of course, yeah. Getting hard to
All right, so that's the 4 projects. You want to close
No,
the remarks?
that's it, and thank you very much for
Jeff,
your
Jeff,
time.
you know, I think we ought to go down and take a picture with those
Great.
individuals because it's such a good job. Good board members?
Again, I've been, the fire station out there in Yosemite, what a place you guys did. It was tremendous and under budget, right? Yes, that's good. Can't get much better than that. Everything's great.
Let's take a quick.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's 10:30. Well, Sue? What? Let me see who's next. That's it. And Sue, you got us a lot of money for El Rio too, so you should be getting one of those awards also.
Thank you.
She just wants that commission.
Well, yeah, we've always said that, huh?
And thank you for the good job too, Sue.
Thank you.
She said, I'll just settle for a couple. There you go.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, Sue.
And for the record, Sue Hughes with the CEO's office. Good morning, Chair Zaragoza, members of the board, Mr. Powers. I am here about the commercial PACE program. And just as a reminder, that's Property Assessed Clean Energy. Get my acronym in the right order. As the board recalls, back in January of 2010, your board adopted a resolution to join the PACE program, along with all 10 of our cities. And then we ran into a little regulatory problem a little later in 2010 and put the kibosh on the whole program. But we're happy to say that as of today, September 18th, marks the official launch of the commercial PACE program for the 14 counties, Ventura being one of them, and the 126 cities in the state that have signed on to this. And like I said, all 10 of our cities are part of that 126 cities. The PACE program provides low-cost, long-term financing for commercial energy infrastructure projects, so solar rooftop, HVAC, refrigeration, water efficiency projects. There is a little more than $250 million that's being dedicated to the commercial PACE program from capital providers. The minimum loan that you can apply for is $50,000. And the lovely thing about this is we're engaged with California First, is who we've signed the resolution with. And they essentially are going to help us and all of those folks that are interested in getting funding from this program. They go directly to California First. California First, as I understand it, has already worked with our auditor's office to set up any kind of accounting transactions that we need, which makes it even easier for all of us. What you've been handed, I think Roberta handed them out, is a 2-page sort of launch fact sheet that came from California First. There is a 2-page fact sheet that lets everyone know about the program. And then there is a 1-page frequently asked questions sheet in there. What we thought we would do is place all this information on the county's website. we would have these sheets available so that if you wanted to leave them on the counter at your offices, or certain county department and agencies, we can leave them on the counters there so that they have the ability to have all the information to anybody who comes in. We'll provide all the information to EDC-VC so they can pass it along. We thought it might also be appropriate that you pass this information along. Most of you have MACs or some kind of neighborhood things in your district, so we can make those available too, that you can pass off that information. We're doing the best that we can to try and get all this information out right away because it officially launched today. So, and we'd heard from a couple of people, and one of them being in Moore Park, that we're following through with to see if they in fact are eligible for this. So that's sort of it in a nutshell, and we're very excited. Now, this is the commercial part of PACE. The residential section of PACE, we are working with our counterparts in Santa Barbara County and San Luis Obispo County. We meet with them next Tuesday in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara County is taking the lead on this, and they are working with the PUC, all my acronyms are backwards today, the PUC, and some ARA funding that might still be available. And the program for residential will be run out of the County of Santa Barbara. They already have the approval of their board, which they got September 4th, to go out and look for funding. So as soon as we have a funding source and sign everything we need to with Santa Barbara County, we'll be up and running on the residential part of PACE too, which is exciting. So, any questions?
Thank you, Sue. Any questions to Sue? Supervisor?
Not questions, more comments. Sue, I have a lot of residential people that are interested in this, and I know it's been a long road in terms of trying to get this, the technicality of how you prioritize the loan and all of that moving forward. We haven't gotten everything that we wanted, but they are anxious for that residential program. So to the extent that we can move and work things out with Santa Barbara, I'd like to expedite that as much as possible.
Okay. Absolutely.
I was going to say the same thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue. Okay, this is a receive and file. Got a first and a second. Okay, so that's approved. So we have about a 15-minute recess, and we have a 10:30 time check. 13 minutes. Okay, we're back in session again, and we have item 24, and this is a resolution from the Board of Supervisors for United Way, and we'd like to call Dave Smith up to the podium. And this is whereas Ventura County Board of Supervisors has declared September as Live United Month, and whereas Live United Month is intended to highlight for Ventura County residents the various programs and services provided by the United Way of Ventura County that are designed to advance the common good in our community. And whereas United Way of Ventura County started its war chest in Ventura County in 1945, it has been an integral part and supporter of health and human services needs in our community since 1967. And whereas United Way of Ventura County is focused on improving education, financial stability, promoting healthy lives, with a success in the future to be measured through results that deliver positive community impact to more Ventura County residents in need. Whereas United Way of Ventura County is committed to providing support through community impact partnerships, delivering results with critical programs which include 211 in Ventura County, VenturaCountyCounty.org, Earned Income Tax Credit Program, United Women's Leadership Council, the Young Leaders Society, the Latino Action Team, and more. Where United Way of Ventura County has evolved over 67 years from the war chest of Ventura County to the United Fund, to the United Way of Ventura County, always with the purpose of improving lives by mobilizing and carrying power of the communities. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the County Board of Supervisors designate the month of September from this date forward to be Live United Month in Ventura County. And it further be resolved that the County of Ventura Board of Supervisors reaffirms its recognition of the social services needs of Ventura County's residents and applauds United Way of Ventura County for the multiple ways the organization responds to those needs every day of the year, and it has done for 67 years. And this is presented on the 18th day of September. And Mr. Smith, I'd like to share a couple of words, and I'll go down and present this to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the board, Mr. Powers. It's a pleasure to be here. I was not here when the war chest started in 1945. I saw Supervisor Long shaking her head like I was. But it is my pleasure to represent United Way today for this very special resolution. I was thinking about driving over the special relationship that United Way has with the County of Ventura, and that relationship is really, I look at it as twofold: people and programs. From a people standpoint, we have a rich history of engagement with the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Long, Supervisor Parks, both former members of the board, Supervisor Zaragoza, a member of the board today, Mr. Powers, Mrs. Cohen, Mr. Carroll is in the room today as a new member of the United Way Board of Directors, so that partnership just continues through the years. From a program standpoint, I think the relationship and the partnership between United Way and the county is more significant than sometimes we realize. The partnership that's been established in support of the 211 program, United Way, Interface, First Five, the county, several of the cities in the county, the relationship that we have in support of the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program that this year resulted in more than $1.8 million in tax refunds and credits to local residents, support for the Social Services Benefit Calculator, the United Women's Leadership Council and its support of the emancipated female foster youth in cooperation with the county. And the programs really go on from the social service sector in terms of that tremendous relationship that exists between county government and the private sector, the nonprofit sector, United Way. There's a lot that United Way can do by itself. There's more that United Way can do through partnership with the community, such as the relationship that we have with the county. And of course, not to forget the annual workplace campaign that the county supports, which annually results in more than $160,000 in contributions to support the needs of local residents. So I thank you for the resolution, the proclamation, the support that we continue to receive. And I have a number of people I'd like to introduce today. Our board chair, Darren Kettle, the head of the Ventura County Transportation Commission. Stand up. You all know him. Susan England, our Vice President for Community Impact. Letitia Austin, our Director of Communications and Marketing. and 2 community investment directors who have worked closely with the county, Eve Liebman and Rachel Parcells. And of course, I already mentioned Matt Carroll, new member of the board. So thank you once again. I really appreciate your support. Absolutely.
Thank you, David, and thank you for your good work with the United Way team. The next time you're having a luncheon, and what do you want to share that?
Oh yeah, I don't want to forget our Spirit of Community Partnership Luncheon. It is this Thursday at the Sarah Center in Camarillo. I know a number of you are already registered. We'll have about 375 people in attendance. So
Yeah, that's a great
We'll be
event.
there to support you.
Well, Dave, I would just say it's a two-way street on the partnership, and we appreciate the new approach that you have, the community impact, listening to the community as to what those needs are right now and being nimble in responding to them. So we very much appreciate you and your team in the partnership. Thank you.
Here, here. Let's see what it is. So you no longer on board, Matt's going out?
6 years. Yep.
Took us a while to come up.
Thank you very much. Oh, here's two also.
One more? One more?
It's before your time.
Oh, my God.
It's hard to get the other groups that were part of supporting them back.
Right.
Supporting them. He's done a pretty good job to try to run.
He really did.
That was their whole thing. And so the Boy Scouts were I said, don't give us any money. You got crazy.
So, Roberta, that's our last item. So we're adjourned. Thank you.
Next week.
Till next week.